Well, you guys, LongHaul Larry, Big Blue, and a guard chicken. Johnny the chicken. Johnny the chicken actually guarded Big Blue while I was gone for a little bit. I left him sitting right here on his roost, and he watched out for Big Blue. I can only imagine what the mechanic thought when he got up in this truck and saw the rubber chickens in here. I don't really know. That was probably pretty funny. But we are actually at White Wave Foods, and we are all checked in. I am picking up a load here today, and I will be heading to Oconomowoc, Wisconsin with this load, delivering Friday a.m. I emptied out this morning at Nestle in Laurel, Maryland, and everything went all well there, got emptied, and then I drove it on down here. So everything is good, and we're back to trucking again. If I clear my throat a lot, I got an itch in my throat. I don't know what's going on. I don't feel like I'm sick or nothing, but I don't know. I didn't have a very good night of sleep last night, though. Just that. But we kind of need to address what happened to Big Blue. I guess first and foremost, I would say this. I am a truck driver. My job is to come to shippers and receivers and pick up loads, be on time, get the loads loaded up, protect the loads, because I haul reefer, make sure that they maintain temperature, and deliver the loads and do it all, professionally. That is my job doing that. I am a company driver, so I do this for another guy, and being a company driver, it is also an aspect to do this in a professional manner, to do this, to be courteous and everything else to people out here and to the shippers and receivers, and maintain, a good working aspect with a lot of these people. I tell you, it's pretty hard with some of them, but you kind of need to take a moment, but you got to do what you got to do. But the other aspect of being a company driver is also to protect my company. I need to protect this company and not having accidents. Being a defensive driver, not getting into accidents. That way the company is not, liable for accidents and lawsuits and have a loss of money from accidents or something. That's a big aspect of this also as a company driver. The other aspect of it is that I'm on YouTube. And with that aspect of it, I have to protect the company also on YouTube. And I need to represent the company professionally on YouTube also. That is the reason why I did not record for 3 weeks. It was not anybody's, it was actually my idea not to record any of that. And not to talk about it and to keep it a secret and everything. And I'll tell you the reasons why. I found all those metal shavings in the last video that you guys have seen. I found all those metal shavings in there. I took a short video. I contacted the boss, sent it to him, and said, what do you want to do? And I told him, I says, man, if I was a gold miner, I'd be excited to find nuggets. But I says, when you're a mechanic tearing stuff apart, you don't want to find nuggets. And he responded back, well, now we know where the knock is coming from. And the thing is that when I was out at ADL, out at the yard, just before that, I was on the way there, and I started hearing a knocking noise in the engine. It wasn't a loud knock, it was just a real faint knock. But I'm pretty perceptive on these things. I really watch things because I have the mechanical background too. So I kind of really keep a close eye on oil pressure and my RPM on shifting and everything, and the engine noises and rattles and stuff. I kind of keep a perceptive ear open for all these things. And I heard this real faint little knocking noise developing. And when I got out to the yard, I called the boss over and I said, there's something over here. I said, it's on the left side of the engine. And I said, there's a little knock. I just want to bring it to your attention. And he sat there listening to it, and I gave it gas a couple times, and he goes, yeah. He goes, I can hear it. And he was like, take it back, you know, do the stuff you're gonna do, let's get this oil leak stopped. And he says, keep an eye on it, you know, how's your oil pressure? Oil pressure's good. Once you if anything kind of changes, let's keep an eye on it, and we'll get it into someplace, because the engine does have a warranty on it yet, and so does the transmission, I believe. But for one thing, I know the engine, maybe the rear ends too. But it's got, I think they call it the powertrain or something like that, warranty or something. I'm not sure, but it still has a warranty on it. And I knew, and so what happened is, when I found that stuff, I got the truck back together, and I had a load that needed to be delivered. Yeah, John had dropped it up there where it was a load going to Shawano, so I needed to get this load to Shawano. And when I was heading up to Shawano, I got it all back together, got it running, everything was fine. Called him, said oil pressure's okay, it's running, it's just like normal. I said, at least we don't have an oil leak anymore. And he said, okay. He said, get it up to Shawano, I'll find some place that can get this truck into, that they can look at this truck. So I was on the way up there, and he contacted me. He said, well, when you get empty there, head to this place. And it was a shop that was certified, that was verified by Cummins to do warranty work and stuff. They could do the work. So I took it there, and I took all the metal that I scooped it out of that oil pan, and I put it in a baggie, and I took it there. And when I got there, he told me to tell him what I found. So I went there, showed him the baggie, told him what I did is I pulled out the flywheel housing because it was leaking, put a new seal in there, put the clutch, transmission, everything back in. When I was putting the oil pan in, I had it off, you know, because you got to have that oil pan off to do the flywheel housing. When I had the oil pan, when I was putting it back in, I found all this metal. And I told him, I says, you know, the head was just done a while ago, and it was leaking coolant into the fuel. And I said, so they recupped it and stuff, and I don't know, maybe something was left loose in there, and I was thinking maybe camshaft is, you know, wobbling around in there and tearing up the head. And he goes, that could be. He goes, we'll definitely check that. And he goes, the other thing that we might want to check is the fuel pump. He said that this Cummins engine has had problems with the fuel pumps, basically just blowing out. And he said it's a known problem with these engines, and basically, he says, kind of thinking maybe something like that. He said, but that's a lot of metal. And I told him, I said, well, I just heard a knocking noise in the engine like not even a week ago. And it's just a real faint knock and stuff. And he even came out there and listened to it. And he goes, yeah, that's not much. He says, you can't really notice it. And I said, yeah. I said, it's just a little bit. And he goes, well, maybe you caught it in time that, you know, the fragments didn't get all around in the engine. We'll see what happens. So they were going to be able to look at it, but they weren't going to be able to look at it till late that night or early in the morning, they said. So I went and got a hotel and hung out. Next day I got up and called the boss and said, hey, what's happening? He said, let me get in contact with him. So he got in contact with him, and they said, hey, we haven't gotten a chance to get into it further, but it looks like it's the fuel pump. So they said, you know, and the boss was talking to him and said, hey, just, you know, put a new fuel pump in there. Do you have the parts? Can you get the parts? Can you get this done? I got a driver sitting in a motel. And they said, well, we really wouldn't want to do that, because with all the metal fragments that your driver showed us when he took it apart, that we kind of want to look more internal and look at the crank and look at the different things to see if there's other damage that's been done. And the boss called me back, and you know, they weren't going to get this done that day, so I decided to stay there another day. And I stayed there another day and stuff, and the next day I finally got a hold of them, and it turned out that the crank was shot. And they were worried about the block, and they were going to pull it out and everything else. So when all that news came out, it was like, okay, this is going to be a while now, because they're having to deal with the warranty issue with Cummins, and Cummins is going back and forth with them, and my boss is stuck in between there. There's, you know, lots of communication going on and everything else. this wasn't going to be a couple days or a week or something. So I talked to the boss and I said, I says, it's not going to be happening soon, so I think I'm going to head home. And he's like, well, I'm trying to get you a rental truck. I'm trying to find you a rental truck. And I was like, whatever, let me know. So I headed on home, and then the boss got a hold of me, and he goes, I can't find a rental truck anywhere in Wisconsin. He goes, I don't know what's going on, but I can't find one. So we sat there talking for a while and everything else, and then I started thinking about it, and I was like, I got so many projects going on around the house and all this stuff that I wouldn't mind taking off the time. And the boss has this thing where if you have something happen with your loads, you lose loads or lose a bunch of pay or something, or if your truck breaks down or something like that, he will pay you a minimum weekly payment to make sure that you have a good check. And I would be getting that. Well, the thing is that right next to the hotel where I stayed at, there was a casino. And I kind of went in the casino and I kind of won pretty big. I did pretty good, actually. I did well. I didn't walk all rich or nothing, but I did pretty good. For the smaller amounts that I bet, I did well. And I sitting here thinking about it, and I contacted the boss and I says, you know what? I got a whole bunch of things I need to do, little projects around here and everything else that I would like to get done. Don't worry about it. Just leave me home. I know it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks. Just leave me home. And I actually made a bunch of money in a casino. I'm fine. You don't need to pay me the minimum weekly thing and everything. I'll just stay at home. I'll get all my little stuff done. We'll be all good to go. And he replied back. He's like, okay. So that was kind of the deal. And then I put out a video to you guys saying, hey, I'm going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks and everything else. And we kind of talked about that, and that's where that came from. Then the next day, the boss contacted me and said, listen, you remember the black truck was having, the motor issues and everything. He goes, I got a new motor to put in that truck. And I got a guy out here with a shop that's going to be putting it in, but he can't get it put in until later in January or something like this. And he's like, so I talked to him, and I was thinking I could fly you out here, and could you put that motor in? I was like, sure. As long as the guy has a forklift and lets me use his tools and stuff, yeah, I can do that. So he's like, all right, let me set this all up or whatever. Let me see if I can get this set up. So, and then he asked me the question. He says, well, what are you doing for Christmas? And I said, well, all my kids are going to be gone. They're all spending Christmas with their in-laws and other families, their boyfriends' families and stuff. They're going to do that. They all spend it with me, Thanksgiving with me. Now it's the in-laws' turn. They get to spend Christmas with them. But the weekend after Christmas, everybody's coming back, and we're going to do like a late Christmas celebration. So I need to be home that weekend for sure. And he was like, okay. So then I waited and stuff, and it was like another day, and all of a sudden he contacted me. He said, all right, I got 2 trucks sitting in the yard here. I think something fell through with using the shop thing and all that stuff. I think something fell through with that. That just kind of went away. But I know the other guy is actually putting an engine in there. So that's getting a new engine in that one. But he said, I got 2 trucks sitting out here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have John come by, pick you up, and bring you out here. And then he says, and then you can get one of these trucks and go and run. And I was like, all right. And sat there thinking about it and everything else. And it was like a day before John was going to pick me up. And it was like a day before John was going to be picking me up. But his HTI guy is not happy right there. And I contacted the boss and I said, listen, I said, if this is to get me a paycheck, if that's what you're trying to do to make sure I have a paycheck, I'm fine. And I got like lots of different stuff. I'm fine just sitting at home. You don't have to go through all this just to get me a paycheck and everything. And he contacted me back and he's like, nah, he goes, I actually really need you to run because I got a bunch of people off for Christmas and I got brokers asking me if I got people that I can run for Christmas because they got loads, but they can't find drivers and everything else. and you really don't have anything going on. So, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll run. That's the first time ever in my life I've ever ran on Christmas. And so I did that. And so I went back and I ran for the week before Christmas, and then I ran during the week of Christmas and everything, and did all that stuff. And so then I was out running. In the meantime, all this discussions was going back and forth about the engine. They were finding more and more and more damage. This metal got into everything. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to do a crate motor, what's called a crate motor. And it basically comes there in a big wood crate, and it's completely assembled with everything on it. All they do is take out the old one and just drop the new one right in there. And that was the kind of the way that the shop wanted to go, but Cummins was looking at cost effectiveness, and it was their decision because it was a warranty coverage. So there was all kinds of decisions going on back and forth and talks and everything else. The big problem was there's no crate engines to be had. They're all back ordered. So it was going to be a while, and there was talks going back and forth. Finally, the shop, they ended up basically saying, okay, send us a short block and send us all the parts to rebuild this and to put on this engine, new parts. And so that's what they ended up doing. And the only thing that is still on this engine off the old one is the head, which is surprising because that was a problem I had before. But I talked to him about it when I picked it up. Everything, air compressor, the fuel pump, the power steering pump, everything that is connected onto that engine that has oil going through it was replaced, because they said with that oil, with those metal fragments going around, they wouldn't want to put something on there and 10,000 miles down the road, air compressor stops working or something. So they said they just put all new stuff on there. So they rebuilt it up, and I'm telling you right now, this thing purrs like a kitten. It does. It runs really good. When I picked it up and started up the first time, I was like, ooh, that sounds good. It really has a good sound to it. So why didn't I put this information out there and everything beforehand? Was it because I broke a warranty thing? No, I didn't. We told everybody, the shop, everybody knew what had happened. I actually joked about it. I said, this really sucks. I said, because I just had that flywheel housing off, the clutch, the transmission, all that stuff. And he laughed about it, and he's like, yeah, I know. I said, my mechanic, he thought that was really nice because everything was all cleaned up and the bolts came right out. They weren't all rusted tight and everything. He says it was easy to get apart. He says he liked that. He was wondering if you could just go on every truck before him and tear it apart and put it back together. So, but yeah, so there was no warranty issue that I broke or anything like that, because the warranty is on the engine itself. If you take something externally off the engine, that's not a problem. It's when you go internally into the engine and go into the bearings or pistons and you're pulling the head off, that's when you get into problems with a warranty issue. There was no problems with that. But the problem is that there's people on YouTube that don't like me. I know it's hard to understand that, to believe it, but there's actually people in this world that don't like me. And they make it their mission, I guess, to just be ornery about things and send nasty messages and try to call and get me into trouble and stuff. It happens all the time. My boss has just grown to just ignore it because he knows it's just crap. He just ignores all these emails or whatever he gets. So he just ignores all that stuff. But the thing is that people still do call and they try to, just for an example, when John was in Baby Blue, it was kind of towards the end of the time when he was driving Baby Blue, he had an issue with the DEF, and it was right by Sheboygan, and he was out on a highway. He called the boss man, and the boss man contacted Sheboygan Freightliner and told them about it. They sent somebody out there, sent one of the technicians out there to see if they could figure out what's going on. So the guy came out there, messed around with the truck for a while, and said, we're not going to fix it here. He says, you're derated to power. You can only go 5 miles an hour. He goes, you only got to go just a little ways up the highway here. get off on the exit, and then he says, I'll follow you behind with my flashers going and everything, and we'll get you to the shop where it can actually fix this. So that's what he did, and he recorded it. Do you know that when he got there and all this stuff, and he put that recording up there that he was driving 5 miles an hour with some problems, people actually called Freightliner and tried to tell them that they should void the warranty on the truck because he was driving the truck when it should have been towed. I guess they don't understand that the technician told them to do it. I guess they don't understand that that truck is set up to do that. That if there's a problem in the DF, it derates the power, but you can still move the truck so you can get it off the highway, get it to someplace to get it repaired, blah, blah, blah. But people actually called Freightliner, tried to do this, tried to get them in trouble. And the thing was, there was no warranty on that. It's so dumbfounding why people just, if they don't like something, don't watch it. I don't know why people have to sit here and try to see if they could find something wrong and nitpick it and all this other stuff. I just don't understand it. I mean, if I don't like something, I just don't do it. I don't watch it, whatever. You know, that's just the way I am, I guess. I just don't understand it. I guess maybe I'm just clueless about it, but I don't really get it. But the thing is that I needed to protect my boss. And I knew that I didn't break any warranty issue. The shop that I went to and everything else, they knew about it. I didn't break any warranty in it. Everything was fine. But I didn't want people on YouTube that decided they wanted to cause a problem to be on the phone calling people and complaining about things and everything else and make a stink for my boss. Because who knows, maybe somebody in some office, someplace that got in contact with somebody would go, well, I don't know if that is right. And so then they would halt the whole process. So then Big Blue wouldn't be getting fixed. Then there would be, the problems going back and forth and trying to talk to people and everything else. Just didn't want to deal with it. That's all it came down to be. And so we ended up, I just kept it all quiet. And I'll tell you right now, it about killed John. He was about busting at every seam possible. He just wanted to put a video out about it. And I was the one who made the decision not to put the video out right at first. I came out with this and I just said, you know what? I'm not going to put any videos out about this stuff. Not going to put it out about the repairs, nothing. And we're just going to let this be. I'm just going to take a break from YouTube. And when it gets all done, then we'll talk about it. And I told him to talk to the boss about it, and he was like, okay. And then John started like giving out hints about the stuff, and I was like yelling at John, and John's like, all right, well. And finally, I just said this something to the boss. I'm like, you need to tell John to knock it off. And so the boss actually contacted John and said, stop talking about Larry. End of story. Don't talk about it at all. And so that's how it came out to be. So everything is good. Big Blue is running just top notch. Basically, I got a brand new motor in this truck right now. It is beautiful looking. It is sharp looking. They did an awesome job. I got in the truck. I was just like, oh, I missed you, Big Blue. It was really, when I got in here, I was just like, oh, I remember how nice the truck is now. And I drove it out here from, picked up in Little Chute and brought it out to Laurel and stuff. And it was a good run out here. Truck is just running really good and everything. So I do have a steer tire that's getting cupped and everything else. I'm going to see if I can take care of that. So I got a little vibration and stuff like that, but that's been coming more and more. So it's not like it's out of DOT legal or nothing like that, or not. It's not even close, but it's getting to get cupped. So I'm gonna need to see if I can fix that up and everything, get rid of that vibration until that tire runs out. And then I think that what I'm trying to talk to the boss about it. I've talked to him a time or two about putting those. I think they're called Acker rides or something like that. It's a wheel balancing deal, and putting those on here so that it'll save the new tires. It'll give them, it won't cups and stuff. I checked the wheel bearings and everything, and I checked the tie rod ends, and everything is all good. Sometimes you just get a tire that just cups, but those wheel balancing things will help that with that in the future. So trying to talk to Boston and putting those on. So there you go. There's all what happened. sorry that I had to keep it a secret from you guys, but like I said, this is my job and I need to protect the ADL. And I know that 99.9% of the people would have never caused a problem, but there is a few people that cause problems. And so I just didn't want to take any risk on the delay of getting Big Blue back and getting it repaired and everything else. Didn't want to cause any of that troubles. So that's the reason why I did it all. So I think I'm actually going to lay down for a little bit, wait for these guys to call me for the door, and we will be good to go. So I hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day, a great night when they're watching this here video. And if you are not, we certainly could change all that and try it all over again tomorrow. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.